guys, so welcome to this week's pull list section of the Coffee and Hero Show. This is always the time every week where I take you through all the titles that I've pulled this week, all the titles I'm looking forward to, your DC stuff, your Marvel stuff, your indie stuff. These are the releases that came out today. This was the 23rd of June 2021. So big as ever, I had to put it into two different piles. So just to take you through, this is the kind of stuff I'm looking forward to. You know, I try to limit myself, believe it or not. You know, you can't read everything. But at the same time, there's always this fear of missing out in comics, so I probably pick up more than I should, but that's all good. So anyway, this week what we've got. So we're kicking things off with Wonder Woman Black and Gold #1. So I've been really enjoying these DC anthology series, you know, Batman Black and White, Superman Red and Blue. So with Wonder Woman Black and Gold, I think this will be a really cool series as well. Anthology style, 3 or 4 different stories each issue. With this one, this isn't the cover A, this is actually the Joshua Middleton variant. I collect Wonder Woman, the current run, in variants. I don't collect the cover A's, believe it or not. I have some self-control, I only collect one, not the other. So I just sort of thought I'd go for the Joshua Middleton one just to keep that consistent as well. So Wonder Woman Black and Gold is first up. Next up we have from Mark Russell and Sean Isaac on art, we have Fantastic Four Life Story. We're up to issue 2 of this. Issue 1 was great. Issue 1, of course, had to play a little bit safe because in issue 1, they hadn't done any sort of time difference or anything like that. The characters hadn't gotten any older. The characters are essentially as we know them. Whereas this one is going to be in the 70s, so a decade has passed. It'll be going over some of the famous stories of the Fantastic Four told in the 70s and giving them their own unique spin. So looking forward to that. I love the life story format. Spider-Man Life Story is still one of the best Marvel titles of the last few years. So next up from Al Ewing, Crystal Fraser, Lan Medina and Antonia Favela, we have Gamma-Fly. This is a spin-out series from the pages of Immortal Hulk, as if you didn't know. I can finally start reading Immortal Hulk. I finally was able to get the issues I was missing from early on. A big shout out to one of our regulars, Andrew. He was looking to get rid of some of his early issues. He was transitioning over to trades and on the hardcovers, that kind of thing. And he happened to mention he had the early issues of Immortal Hulk, which, you know, my ears just pricked up. I've been wanting to read Immortal Hulk for ages, so I now have all the issues. I'm going to read it all before issue 50 comes out, even though we're like issue 47 right now. Next up, this is actually a release from last week. This is from Jerry Dugan, Pepe Larraz. This is Planet Size XMen. As ever, if we're a little low on titles or a titles generate more interest than what we actually have ordered in, I'll always give up my copies for a customer to be sorted first. So this is what happened with Planet Size X-Men. Very few pre-orders, but we ordered relatively big on it and it sold out really quickly. So looking forward to digging into it. I've heard some really good things about Planet Size X-Men, and this is going to lead to the direction the X-Men universe is going in, just ahead of Jerry Dugan's sort of relaunch for X-Men with a new #1 coming soon. A Vicky title always slips its way in here somewhere. Star Wars Darth Vader. It's issue 13 of this one. Again, don't read Darth Vader, but it manages to make its way into the pile. Next up we have Detective Comics 1038. So I'm really digging Detective Comics at the moment. It's a really good counterpoint to Batman. You know, Batman is, at the moment, is Jorge Jimenez on art. It's James Tynion IV on the writing duties. And with it feels bigger, it feels a bit more epic. Detective Comics feels a bit smaller, feels a bit more personal. Detective skills being used, a lot of Bruce using his, his mind and his training and that kind of thing. And as ever, I go with the variants with Detective Comics, which is Lee Bermeo, who has been pumping them out for a while. I joked in the store today to one of our regulars, Romain, that I think that Detective Comics, Lee Bermeo has that many images. I'm convinced he just has a secret Batman book somewhere he's just going to release, and this is all the artwork from it. Next up from Jean Lun Yang, Emanuela Lupacino and Steve Leiber, we have Batman Superman. I was a little sad to find out Batman Superman's coming to an end. I think it's around issue 21 or 22. It's going to be closing out because I've really dug this since Jean Lun Yang took over. I mean, come on, who doesn't like Batman and Superman in a cowboy hat? It sells itself, surely. Next up we have Event Leviathan Checkmate from Brian Michael Bendis and Alex Maleev. So Event Leviathan sort of came and went without a big massive fanfare, without a lot of fuss, but it was actually a really well written, tightly plotted 6-issue miniseries set in the DC universe, and Checkmate is the follow-up to that. Same again, this has arrived with very little fanfare. We only have maybe 6 or 7 people with it in pre-order, but we got extra copies in because I think this could be a little bit of a sleeper hit, just the way that the Event Leviathan itself was. So looking forward to digging into that, and hopefully it holds up. It's worth it even just for Alex Malev's art and Lois Lane front and centre. Next up from Stephanie Phillips and Riley Rossmo, we have Harley Quinn number 4. Really enjoying Harley Quinn at the moment. It's nice to see a series with Harley Quinn. Let me think if there's a delicate way to put this. But some people don't like the art in this. I really like Riley Rossmo's art, and I like that Harley just isn't a sex pot in this. There's actually a bit of intelligence here. There's cunning here. There's character here, rather than focus on Harley's sexuality, which so many artists and books do. So really enjoying that run so far. Next up we have Infinite Frontier from the team of Joshua Williamson and Zermanico on art. This is spinning out of the pages, of course, of Infinite Frontier. The idea with Infinite Frontier is that any characters who had died had come back to life. If they'd ever existed in the DC universe, it all matters. So some of these characters are being brought back for the first time in a while, and it's all about them finding their place within the larger DC universe. You know, the likes of Alan Scott, Green Lantern, the likes of Roy Harper, and so forth. So I think that's going to be really, really cool, and you cannot go wrong with the Joshua Williamson title, one of DC's best writers. Next up, Brian Michael Bendis and David Marquez, Justice League. I was a little up and down in Justice League with Infinite Frontier, and I let a couple of issues build up, but then I read 61, 62 back to back, and I'm actually really digging it. There's some good stuff in Justice League. And of course the backup stories, Ram V and Zermanico again actually, doing their Justice League Dark backups. Worth it for the price alone. Another wee bit of a sleeper hit coming through, which is Mr. Miracle, the Source of Freedom. So this is from Brandon Easton. And the first issue of this was really good. The first issue of this, again, I think is a little bit of a sleeper. There was a character brought into it that was a first appearance at the very end. There was some really good storytelling within the Mr. Miracle world. I really, really enjoyed the first issue of that. So second issue hopefully lives up to the same. Next up from Joshua Williamson again and Glenn Melnikoff, we have Robin number 3. Again, I'm starting to go with the variants for Robin instead of the cover A's. I really like these sort of negative space variants that Francis Manapul's doing. This one's going to focus on Connor Hawke. So I think that's a really cool cover. Issue 2 was Damien in his red sort of Robin phase. I'll put that towards the top. I think that deserves another wee look at the end. Beautiful cover. Next up we have Teen Titans Academy, so issue 4 of this from Tim Sheridan and Steve Leiber is on art duties for this issue, looking at the mystery of who Red X is. I do love a cover that has speech bubbles on it. It's a classic thing that I really, really like. I had mentioned with Wonder Woman, I go with the variants, so we're up to the next issue. This is Becky Cloonan, Will Conrad, Jordi Belair. And this Wonder Woman 774, and again Joshua Middleton on covers, and he just knocks these out of the park. Always a different idea, whether it's the majesty of Wonder Woman, the intelligence, the fighting spirit, the training, the warrior woman. His covers never fail to deliver, and that's definitely one of his best. I think that's a stunning cover. A few different indie books now. So we have Ascender number 16. So this is Jeff Lemire and Dustin Wayne. And again, a title I'm really enjoying. This was the follow-up to Descender. So whereas Descender focused on technology, Ascender focuses on magic. And that's a really worthy sequel. I do need to go back and read Descender though, because I've never actually indulged in that. Next up, Brian Edward Hill and Priscilla Petrades, Chariot 4 of 5, the synthwave thriller. I was always going to be on this because it's an AWA title and I love me some AWA stuff. So this has been really, really cool so far. Every bit as cool as its 80s aesthetic that it is adhering to. Next issue up is Giga. This is number 4. This is from Vault Comics. This is a series I really enjoy, but it's a series that's suffering a little bit from printing issues at the moment. It's not coming out as regularly as you would maybe like, and it is sometimes a problem with some of these smaller books, the likes of Vault Comics or Scout Comics. They obviously don't have the resources of the big two or even the resources of an Image or a Boom, that kind of thing. But I'm really digging it, but I may just need a wee reread of 1 to 3 just to remind myself of a few bits and pieces. New indie title out this week as well, which is called Good Luck. And this is, I believe, from Boom Studios. This was one that we focused on our previous pod. And this is by Matthew Ehrman and Stefano Simeone. And the cover is actually by Jorge Corona, who did Middle West. This is one of the 1 per store unlockable variants that just comes without the trade, the trade dress. But looking forward to that. I remember highlighting it on the previews pod. And again, I do love me a wee 1 per store variant. Homesick Pilots is back this week from Dan Waters and Casper Weingard. So If you're a fan of something like, say, Umbrella Academy, True Lives of Fabulous Killjoy, it's got similar sort of energy to this. Even a similar sort of energy to something like Stephen King's It or Stranger Things. Really enjoying Homesick Pilots. Great art on that especially. Next up, we have the next issue of Philadelphia, always one of our favourite Image series. Rodney Barnes on writing duties, Jason Sean Alexander on artwork, Louis NCT on colours, which is always really, really important on that. And just a great title. I mean, Philadelphia, it's one of the best that Image are doing. It makes vampires scary again, tells an alternate history sort of story, tells a very real world story about the state of Philadelphia at the moment. Brilliant, brilliant storytelling, and that never fails to deliver. Next up, we have MFK Zed, which I'm guessing stands for, but I don't want to swear on this. This is a Behemoth comic. This is by Run, and apparently there's an animated series that's linked into this. One of our regulars was telling me. I just picked it up because I really like the stuff that Behemoth's putting out at the moment. I think they're doing some really interesting stuff, and they make a really good alternative to the bigger indie series. We sip of coffee. Next up, we have Old Guard Tales Through Time. So we're really digging this so far. This is the anthology series set in the Old Guard universe. It's actually given Greg Rucka and Leandro Fernandez a little bit of a break from releasing Old Guard content, in that they bring in established writers and artists to do their own stories within the Old Guard universe. And you've got, I mean, Bendis is writing one of these ones with Michael Avon Oeming on art. So I think that's going to be really cool. I've enjoyed those so far. It's nice to see someone else playing in the sandbox that was created by, as I say, Greg Rucka and Leandro Fernandez. Issue 3 next up of Phantom on the Scan. This has been a cool little title from Aftershock Comics, Cullen Bunn and Mark Torres. And they also feature some of the best covers around. I think I love the aesthetic of that title. Next up's one that's maybe struggling a wee bit for us, but we're going to stick with it for another issue or two. This is Sea of Stars. This is from the team of Jason Aaron and Dennis Hallam Hopeless. Stephen Green on art and Rico Renzi on colours. Started off really, really strongly. It's just maybe losing me a wee tiny bit, but I'll stick with it for the moment. I'm not sure if the end of the second story arc is going to be 10 or 12, but I'll stick with it and let you guys know. Next up is a title that should have came last week, but I'm sure you saw my latest Diamond Outburst. There's usually one a week. So 7 Secrets finally came in this week, so we move on to issue 9 of Tom Taylor and Daniel Dinaculo's masterpiece in the making. Also from the team behind Skyward, we have issue 4 of Shadecraft. Loving this series as well. Just nice horror vibes to it, good fantasy vibes to it, good family drama, and a really good cliffhanger at the end of issue 3. So looking forward to getting into the next one of that. Any week with a new issue of Something Is Killing the Children is a good week, no matter what. Something's Killing the Children. I'm sick to the back teeth talking about how good this is. If you're not on it, get on it, whether it's trades. Singles are a little harder to come by for the early issues, just it's one of those sort of spec issues that the prices went up and up and up. And there is a really nice hardcover coming for this as well, I believe due for release later near August, September time, which is going to contain the first 15 issues. So for those sort of hardcover comic lovers out there. Another title that has taken a long time to come out, but the timing of it is actually pretty good now, given that we just watched Back to the Future 3 the other day. We have issue 4, the last issue of Transformers Back to the Future. Just a lot of fun, you know, great 80s nostalgia. It doesn't take itself too seriously. And it has a transforming DeLorean in it. What more do you need? Just the 2 to go here. So we have the very welcome return of Undiscovered Country. This is Scott Snyder, Charles Soule, and Giuseppe Camuncoli's brilliant exploration of an America that locked itself away from the rest of the world and just pottered on about its own business. But now that the world's under threat, there's a disease in the world, and the Americans say that they can help if they send in a party to negotiate. And then you get to see what they've done with America in those 30 years. I think it's a 30-year period. First 2 trades available. This is a jumping on point for single issues with issue 13, start of arc 3. But the first 2 trades are available in store, and it's become another one of those store stalwarts that we always make sure that we have on the racks. And then we finish off with Vinyl. Vinyl is a series from the creators of a serial killer story for Image Comics called Plastic. It was all to do with the serial killer who had a blow-up doll as his best friend. And mobsters steal the blow-up doll, and then in his mind, this is like his life being taken away from him. and they ask him to do a job to get her back. I don't know an awful lot about this other than it's from the guys that did that, so that's enough for me to actually give this a go. I love the art style. New Image Comics #1. Can't go wrong with that. So there you go. There is my pull list for the week. An absolute plethora of titles, tons of variety, tons to get through and tons to enjoy. As ever, if any titles appeal to you, even if we don't have them in the store, we'll always do our best to get our hands on them for you. If anything stands out, just drop us a message and we'll do our best to get you sorted. So that is my pull list for the week of June 23rd, 2021. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope it proves useful for you, maybe highlighting some titles you may have otherwise missed. And as ever, hope you're staying safe out there. So again, take it easy.